This day was coming. We'd have to eventually tackle part two of Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon films. So, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, is the newest film by Zack Snyder, released on Netflix this week. I'm catching up on it. Like I said, I was out of town, and in my last review, I said I was out of town. I'm catching up with some reviews, so I finally caught up with this, and here's the review. Um, so, the story picks up right where Part 1 left off. If you did not watch Part 1, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it, but pretty much, our ragtag group of characters has been formed, led by Sofia Boutella as Cora, and you got other characters, and then we'll talk about in a little bit. But they are essentially kind of finally laying the groundwork of helping this village protect themselves from the bad guys, the evil empire, whatever they choose to be called, the ships from the mother world. I mean, there's a lot of jargon in here that I felt really overwhelmed by. But so we finally get to this. It is the more action heavy movie, I think, compared to the previous one. So you get your typical teaching the farmers how to defend themselves, setting up their booby traps, and blah blah blah. We've seen this movie done plenty of times before. In my last review, I do believe I mentioned that this is just a mix of, Seven Samurai, the Magnificent Seven, A Bug's Life. It's all that, and it's in this, and it's done better, frankly, in those other films. But let me give this credit. I do like Zack Snyder, and I do like Zack Snyder's films for the most part. I was not a fan of the previous film, but I do think this one is a step up, and maybe that's because it is a little more action heavy, and it does focus on some characters a little bit more, not by much, because there's still a lot of characters in this, and my biggest problem is I feel like a lot of these characters are still hollow. We've had 4 hours of screen time with these people, and I could care less about them. I was not emotionally impacted by anything, but I do feel like, at least with the second one, I was a little more engaged, and I was a little more, able to follow the story. It was a little, I won't say it was simpler, but because it was more focused on the action and all that stuff, it was just a little easier to stomach and to get over some of the tropes. But I mean, there's a lot of tropes here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, kudos to Zack for making a film. It's hard to make a film. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But I just don't see where this film was, it wasn't really inspiring. It was just like a mix of Star Wars and Seven Samurai and all this stuff we've seen before, done not so great. I think some of the action scenes are kind of cool and well done. Definitely a step up from the last film. Definitely into a couple of the characters a little more than the previous one. But I just, it's a bit more of the same. And there's the story that came out that Zack Snyder wants to do 6 of these films. And boy, 2 of them was a slog. And we'll see. There's still supposedly the director's cuts of these coming. And I don't know how much that'll improve this stuff. There's a couple scenes. There's one in particular, the backstory of a character named Nemesis in the film, played by Doona, the one that carries the 2 red swords. A little bit of a backstory with her, and there was a bit where I felt like I could see where they'd expand on that in a director's cut, but I don't know. And they did stop the movie. Well, this is what gets me. So my biggest complaint has been about character development stuff. And the moment they stop to give us character development, it is just the most ham-fisted. We're stopping the film to do this all of a sudden because I think people complained about it in the first film moment. And, they go around the table and everybody talks about their backstory. And I'm like, really? Like, shouldn't you guys have done this before you got to this point in the story? I don't know. I thought that was a wee bit silly. And there's some other stuff in here. I'm like, well, what? I don't know. It's definitely not my cup of tea. I understand if people love this, and I would understand if people absolutely hate it. Look, I'm kind of slightly in the middle here because while it is so heavy in tropes, it's so heavy with trying to think it's clever when it just feels like a big ripoff and a mishmash of a bunch of stuff we've seen done better before. I still, I kind of enjoyed some of it. I wasn't so bored that I turned it off or fell asleep during it or nodded off. But I don't know. I expected a little more from Zack Snyder, especially him doing an original film and putting his heart and soul into it. And I just don't feel it. It just feels kind of hollow and uninspired because it's like, here's the scene where we're going to rip off this from Seven Samurai. Here's the scene where we're going to rip off this from the Julius Caesar play. Like, there's just so much. I'm just like, we've seen it done better in other stuff, but it's not totally unsalvageable. It's not totally a train wreck like I think the first one kind of was. And we'll see what, like I said, what the director's cuts. What will they bring? I don't know. Sofia Boutella is the lead. Still kind of about the same. A little wooden. I don't know if she should be a lead actress, to be honest with you. I like her, but just it's either this role, this this character, or maybe she doesn't have the chops to be a lead, or she just needs more time to be a lead. I do like Djimon Hounsou. I think his character is great. His performance is always pretty good. Ed Skrein as the bad guy, the Admiral Noble, however you say it. Uh, he's a pretty good, intimidating villain. I'll give him that. I think he's pretty good. But then you got, kind of characters that are fine, but still kind of underdeveloped. Even Donna Bay's Nemesis is underdeveloped. You got Stas Nair, who plays Tarek, who you get his backstory, and while he's good, the character's underdeveloped. I just feel like a lot of underdevelopment with these characters. Some of the acting, can't even save that. An undeveloped character they can't save. And of course, Anthony Hopkins doing the voice of a robot. That seems like a big waste. This robot character seemed like one of the biggest wastes, and is only there to set up a part 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. It kind of bugged me, and they did leave the movie off in such a way that they could do more. I'll just say that. So I don't know. At the end of the day, I like I said, I feel like it's an improvement over the first, but it's still not quite there for me. But I'm going to give it a C minus. I just think that I don't need any more of these. Unless the director's cuts can save it, I just don't know if I'd be interested in seeing a part 3 at this point. If these two films are any indication where this is going to go, it's going to be stuff we've tread before. But we'll see if and when they come out. If Netflix even decides to give him another Rebel Moon film, we'll have to wait and find out, I guess. What do you guys think? Do you like the Rebel Moon movies? Do you like Rebel Moon Part 2? I'm sure there's a lot of you that will disagree with me, and that's fine. To each their own, and I'm not going to fault you if you like this, because I can kind of see why somebody would like this. But leave your comments and thoughts down there below. And also, if you guys could please hit that like button, subscribe button, the little bell notification to be notified whenever I drop new videos. It would be greatly appreciated. Even a thumbs down, I guess, is fine, because that's engagement. So you're only helping me out if you do that. But yeah, so getting this review up, we'll have a podcast up this week. Probably talking about this movie too at some point. Definitely some great trailers coming out this week. And until then, guys, I'll be seeing you.